Andy, obviously Exeter this weekend, it's back to league action. Given the sequence of results for both teams and such, how big do you feel this kind of game is in the context of your season so far?
It's the most important game because it's our next one, and people will build that up maybe because of as you say, the sequence of results of both teams. 3 points are available, and that's it. So it's our next opponents, and we'll approach the game in a really positive manner, and we'll go to Exeter and try and win the game.
Obviously you will come at it very level-headed, but you're probably aware very much of the emotion of the crowd and how it can play into it and such like that. Have you been aware of that over maybe the past few games when people have been frustrated with the way that things have gone, but also more so what could be riding on this one too?
Yeah, I think that the emotion of the crowd, we obviously want the crowd right behind us, right behind the team. I understand that the frustration personally and professionally, of course I do. But what I would ask of the crowd is to stick with the players, to stick with the group and supporters, and any supporter who is travelling that distance to Exeter to support us, we're more than grateful for. I hope they have a safe trip down there and a safe trip back, and they can hopefully see us go there and produce a positive performance and come back home with 3 points.
How do the coaching staff and the rest of the backroom team, if you like, help with that? Because confidence in football is massive, isn't it? So are there ways to instill that, or do you just have to try and, I don't know, keep doing what you're doing, and then when it works, that helps?
There's a number of ways to impact that psychological aspect of when you're not winning a game of football, and it's something we've looked at, continue to look at, of how can we impact each individual to almost provoke something as well, and in terms of showing what they've done in the past, good teams doing things that we're trying to do as well. So that's obviously things that we're looking at. But confidence, what is it? It's a feeling fundamentally. No one can say what confidence is. Confidence for me is you go into the game extremely well prepared, which our players are. They know a lot of detail both about what we're trying to do and what the opposition is trying to do. So yeah, for me, you're walking down that tunnel at 3 o'clock thinking, I know exactly what's being asked of me. That's where we're currently at.
And from what you said the other night as well, you know, it's about taking on those messages, isn't it? It's about all that preparation that you will do away from match day being implemented. Is that currently a bit of an issue at the minute when it comes to some of the players taking on what you're trying to get them to do?
Well, I think if you look at the group of players we've got, and they will all learn in different ways. And I've said to you guys before, because of the game schedule we've had and the games programme we've had, the amount of time that we spend on the grass, which is non-match preparation, is limited because of the games programme. So we've looked, as I say, ourselves, how can we utilise that time with more thought, more fruition, while also trying to maintain that safety aspect of the players who are still recovering from one game and are about to go and play in another one. So it's trying to find that balance as well. So in terms of Tuesday night, there were things we got wrong, and we spoke about that within the game at half time, after the game, and we've addressed it again this morning. The players have a responsibility to put the game plan to fruition, to practice, that they've got the detail. They then have to go out onto the pitch and do that. And if for whatever reason they don't understand, there's a number of people they can ask, staff members, don't quite get that. Don't be embarrassed by that. Don't be embarrassed about putting your hand up in front of the group and saying, can you explain that again? I don't quite understand that for whatever reason it is. And that's not just one person's responsibility on the pitch. We have 11 players on the pitch at any one time. They've all got a collective responsibility to do their job, but also help their teammate do his job as well. So that's something we've addressed again this morning. And the game is about small details. It's about small moments. We've had a number of crosses, for example, flash across the 6-yard box, and you don't quite get there. But then you've got to look back and think, well, why did we not quite get there? That's not all just about luck. It's about, if you're 40 yards away from the ball, are you anticipating that ball come in the box? And then you've got to run. You've got to run at high speed. You've got to be arriving in the box. So there's so many small things that we have to keep looking at in terms of the process that we have to get to improve. And just speaking about the goals, that's just one little thing.
I know you're trying to ease some players back, aren't you? Like Conor Grant, Alex Iacovitti, they're all getting game time here and there. Is that then harder maybe to implement things because you're having to change personnel to look after them and their fitness, and you aren't yet quite at a stage where some of them can do a 90 minutes without putting them in maybe more danger of getting injured? Is that difficult as well?
Well, it's far from ideal, and I think if you look back, we've probably had 6 or 7 players continually unavailable now since October for whatever reason. Now, once you've been out for that period of time, I have, and obviously the medical staff, we have a responsibility to the player, to the football club, to not put them at risk again, for obvious reasons. We don't want them to break down. So once you've been out for that period of time, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, it's over 2 months. So you can't then go back in and be expected to play 90 minutes. Because of our games programme, we can't arrange behind closed doors games for players to start easing into that process. So you're then having to do that within the league game, within a cup game, knowing full well that player's not going to last the game, which is not ideal, but that's what we have to do. So you've just mentioned a couple of players there, Conor Grant, Alex Iacovitti, Kofi Balmer comes back on Tuesday night. I know full well that I'm going to have to make changes within the game so that those players aren't put at risk again. So it doesn't help the momentum of the team. It doesn't help building relationships and partnerships. But that's where we're at. There's no point me moaning about that. I know that's what's happening. It's up to me and the team and the squad and the coaching staff to try and do the best we can within that moment.
You are, though, getting a few more options back now, aren't you? Like you've said, they're getting minutes here and there, and that should help improve things, shouldn't it? Because the more options you've got, the better off you'll be in terms of your squad depth, the better off you'll be when it comes to changing things up within games when you need to manage them, I suppose.
If you're playing to a certain a level of performance which is really good, you pick yourself. If you're not doing your job on the pitch, you leave yourself wide open to being left out of the team. Now, you can only make changes when you've got other players available. And when you haven't got the amount of bodies available which we've had over a period of time, that becomes very difficult. Once you reach a level of performance, as I say, you pick yourself.
You've got a few more as well, still sidelined. Josh Thomas, Mitch, James Wilson as well, I think, as well. How are they coming along? James Plant too, obviously.
Alfie Devine.
Yeah, Alfie Devine, Ollie Arblaster.
Ollie Arblaster.
How are they looking? Are they any nearer?
Where do you want me to start? Which one?
Which one's the best news?
So if we work our way from in terms of long-term injury, Mitch Clark obviously had his surgery. He's been back to see the consultant surgery. Had some good news. His brace will come off maybe slightly earlier than anticipated. And I haven't personally seen Mitch since the injury. He can't get about. So which is far from ideal, but we hope for that situation will change. Obviously, I'm in constant contact with him on the phone, and Mike and the medical department have been to see him. But it's obviously been a really bad injury, so he's homebound, and he can hardly do anything. James Plant, as I say, had the news regarding the impact of the shoulder dislocation at Stevenage. That is going to get decided in the next 24 hours which route we go down, because he's had previous surgery to that same shoulder last year. He had keyhole surgery. The advice is if we go down the management of it and it goes again, it's going to be even worse. So to manage it and then potentially put him back out there in 6 weeks and it goes again, the damage becomes even worse, and then the period out then is added on to the 6 weeks. So we'll come to a final conclusion with that today regarding James and the advice we've been given. James Wilson is back on the grass. Josh Thomas has suffered a setback. He's obviously Swansea's player, so he's been doing his rehab at Swansea. Really slow start to him in his recovery programme. So he's probably 2 weeks in now from when he did the injury. We were expecting him back up here on Monday, but I've had a message today that he's suffered a setback, and I can't unfortunately tell you at this moment in time what that setback is, because I don't know. I just know there's been a setback, so I don't know how long that will add to Josh being out. We were looking at probably a 4-week time scale from when the injury happened, and I think that's probably now just over 2.5 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. But there's been a setback on that, and where else we got? Ollie and Alfie. Obviously, as I said to you last week, that they come back, or they pick up niggle really, and I think that's the best way to describe it because of load, in my opinion. I know that these two lads are doing really well and representing the country, but that they're not getting no break from football, and they're used to playing 21s football, which is predominantly 1 day a week. It's Ollie's first taste of international football, and he's had the call up to the England under 20 squad based on what he's doing for Port Vale. That's been the level of his performance, and yeah, it becomes a consequence. And having been involved in international football with the under 21s, you're doing your 10-day camps and you're working every day. But there's also a lot of sitting around, and there's also a lot of travelling, and has that played a part in the injuries that Ollie and Alfie picked up? It probably has done, yeah. But these players want to go and play for the country, and we want them to go and play for the country. I think it's a reward for us as a football club, and for a reward for those two lads that the growth in their game, the experience in their game has seen them both stay in the England under 20 group and added to that England under 20 group.
I appreciate you may not know the concrete answer on this as well, but obviously...
What's the lottery numbers?
Well, if you knew them, I'd quit now. Some people may hope I do.
Would you?
Yeah.
Would you pack in?
Would you hope I did? Don't answer that.
No comment, Your Honour.
Last question. Obviously, you may not have a concrete answer for this, but Swansea changed the manager, Sheffield United changed the manager. Do you think that might have a bearing on, say, maybe Josh's or Ollie's loans at these point when managers change?
No idea.
It's difficult.
I've no idea. I think again, as a first team manager in the Premier League and in the Championship, I'm sure if those obviously now Chris has got the Sheffield United job, will he be aware of Ollie? Probably from when he was a younger player at Sheffield United, but I don't know what their plan is. We've got no 100% dialogue with them in terms of this is their plan. We're in their hands obviously, but what we've given Ollie is game time every week. He's had a platform to go and improve, to go and make mistakes. As I say, because of what he's been doing for Port Vale and the platform we've given him, he's become an England under 20 player. And we hope that relationship, not only with Sheffield United and Tottenham, it goes out to all the Premier League clubs as well in terms of what we've given for those young players. The same with Kofi, obviously the same with Spurs regarding Alfie, that young players can come here and get game time and play a certain style of football, and we hope that other clubs are looking at that and other young players are looking at that and thinking I would like to see that as part of my next progression as well for first team football.